welcome to Bello Uncinetto. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you're new, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. No matter how long you've been here, I always appreciate your time. We are doing fiber facts with you today, and we are moving a little bit away from the actual pieces of found cloth or textiles into types of fibers. So there were two different things that we discussed with the found items, and there is a playlist which will be linked in the description box below, and I wanted to talk just a moment, right, about some of the discrepancies, because yes, I know that the timelines are not the same, but that's the ones that I'm using, and I did do pretty detailed research on where those things were found, and I did link in both of the videos that I've done so far information on the articles that I found for free, because I want to make sure that what I'm providing for everyone is free of charge as far as accessing the information. There are articles, scientific articles, for both of the things that I mentioned before, but a lot of them you have to pay for. Unfortunately, the academic community gatekeeps a little. I mean, I understand why. They did work really hard for this information and findings and all of that. However, I mean, if there's not like super top secret theories, recipes, whatever details in there, right, it should be available to the public. But I wanted to make sure that the information that I shared was something that someone could research and find themselves. Just one moment. So I just wanted to address that, because I did get a couple of emails because the timelines that I'm using they don't necessarily match up, and I have them here and I can show them to you. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about today, the timeline is a little different for what I'm talking about on one of them versus the other. So I just wanted to put that out there, and if you have information that you would like to share with me on any of these topics, please feel free. I did have someone share a video with me on the fibers that I shared last time, the bast fibers, and how that is still being used today. So I did put that link in the description box for that video, and I appreciate all of those things, right? Because learning is a process. You grow and develop and change even as you get older. I mean, you're still learning things, right? Well, I do anyway, because I enjoy them, and this is one of the things that I enjoy learning about. So to that end, right, we are going to talk about cotton today. That is the fiber that we're going to, or the textile, whichever we're going to talk about. Now, on my timelines, and I will show them to you. Let me open this up here. One of them talks about silk first and then cotton. Yeah. So this one, this one talks about silk first and then cotton a little bit further down. But that was like mercerized cotton with regards to, I'm so sorry, my computer is doing something really weird. Okay, don't do that, stop it. But this one here talks about cotton being grown in different parts of the world, not just in America. So this one talks about cotton only in America, and this one talks about cotton in other parts of the world before silk. And another distinction that is made in between them is when silk started being cultivated from the silkworms and when silk started being used as a fabric. So this will be kind of a heads up for next time. The next one I'm going to talk about is silk. The one I'm talking about right now is cotton, because in a lot of the research that I found, cotton was being used or was found a lot earlier in fabrics and things like that in other parts of the world before silk was being used as a fabric in China. So, with that being said, today we're going to talk about cotton. So, we use cotton a lot today. It's one of my favorite fibers. Favorite fibers to work with. So with cotton in India and Pakistan, that was around 3000 BC, and it was first cultivated in the Indus River Valley, which is what we would call Pakistan today. Some of the older findings of cotton were in Mexico around 5000 BC, and in 2500 BC, Chinese, Egyptian, and South American cultures started using cotton for fabric. So then we move into getting the two different kinds of cotton. So later on, way later, as colonization started happening, some of the cotton that was grown in America was brought to India and did cause some problems. However, this time, before the Common Era, the two species of cotton were starting to be used more widely. Then you have some of the colonization and conquering happening with Alexander the Great in 300 BC, where the Persian Empire begins to fall and cotton comes to Europe, but is for the extremely wealthy, because it is expensive to make, and it has to be shipped from India, because that's where, or Pakistan, India, that area, because that's where it's made. So it's very limited in use. Then, and I'm just scrolling down on my links here, you have Marco Polo, right? Getting involved with the Italians and Arabs starting to trade the muslin and calico fabrics, and the Spanish also get involved at this point. And then Christopher Columbus finds what is the most widely used cotton variety today, I might say this wrong, Gossypium hirustum, maybe. I'll have it in the description box. In the Bahamas. So that is what is used when the Indian cotton trade, because it grows faster. So they would take that cotton from the Bahamas and bring it to India to try to speed it up, but it caused all kinds of like pest problems and just so many issues. But it started with the discovery of it to bring to Europe, was with Christopher Columbus. Then a denim fabric is produced in France, and then sailors in Italy start wearing denim, so it becomes jeans from the French name for the town Genoa, which is Genet, I think. I don't know French, but I'm just looking at it here. So then we move into cotton becoming more popular than some of the fabrics in Europe at the time, and then there was a ban on cotton because the makers of some of the other fabrics and fibers didn't want their trade to decline, so they put a ban on cotton. Then in the 1600s, we have cotton first produced in the United States, and the first cotton spinning factory opening in the UK. We have textile factories opening, and cotton becomes a worldwide fabric in the 17 and 1800s, and quickly takes over things like wool and flax. And then you have the spinning jenny, which is created to do multiple pieces at one time, so you can get the fibers faster. And then the cotton gin from Eli Whitney in America to separate the cotton way faster than doing it by hand. And then in the early 1800s, America becomes the largest exporter of cotton to the British mills, which have overtaken at this point the mills in India. And then we get into the World Wars, where cotton becomes produced commercially for military, with the greens and browns becoming the most prominent. And then in the 1950s, world cotton demand and productions reach 7 million tons. So we quickly see cotton going from small villages to mass production. But one of the things that one of the articles that I found talks about is that there's not a lot of information on what happened to the villages in India when this was done. So because the British started wanting more and more and more cotton, right, they quickly put the Indian farmers at a deficit, and they just couldn't keep up. And then when cotton was discovered in America, they used that sort of against the Indian cotton industry. So there is a lot of concern for a lot of the things that are that have been taking place, because by the early 1980s, most of the cotton, the natural cotton in Africa and Asia, and even in Central and South America, that would be different colors, right? They're non-existent because they've been replaced by that cotton that I mentioned that was in the Bahamas. And then in the 1990s, we have transgenic cotton, which was adapted because it is more easily available, and it doesn't take as long to grow, because there is a lot of cotton that is being demanded, and cotton comes along with a lot of fast fashion, so fashion that falls in and out of favor. But then in 2009. We have the Better Cotton Initiative, which is trying to bring more of that organic cotton farming back. So we have world cotton prices peaking in 2011 at their highest recorded levels, and there's a little bit of a decline at this point, but we are seeing, of course, the more ways you try to grow better cotton, the more pests you have, and then you try to control them, and then it just becomes this really difficult cycle, as with any kind of plant. So there are always issues going on when it comes to creating textiles, but if we work together to ensure that we are using the environmentally friendly fabrics, and they are created in an environmentally friendly way, then we are, as I always say, working to be the change that we wish to see in the world. Ciao bella!